Hello!
This is my 5th time trying to write a script for this review, and every time has been a jumble mess. The short and dirty answer is simply no. I do not recommend Maplestory, which is sad to say. I have played over 1,000 hours over the course of 1 year, and my highest level is 260. There's fun to be had here, and there's even an 18th anniversary event update that is great for new and old players. But the future of Maplestory is not great, while sadly being in its best state. First off, Nexon is the company owner, and if you know anything about this company, you would know it's quite disliked. I think just recently, they tried to remove Dark and Darker from Steam. Even before that, the company has been known to be greedy, cheap, and short-sighted. There was an announcement that Jet will be removed. This is quite insane as the class has been around for a long time. It's changes like these that make the player base concerned for the future of the game. There were other changes as well. An endgame gear upgrading method was changed overnight without any notice. Spawn totems were removed, and while not everyone liked it, mostly because of the 2-hour duration, it was a good reward that got no replacement. It also didn't help that the players who have the legacy permanent versions are still getting the benefits. They also increased the event shop prices, which was quite unnecessary. Secondly, the game is very luck based. Getting better gear is a random drop from a weekly boss, and the many steps in upgrading gear are all chance based. It wouldn't be so bad if bosses could drop materials that would slowly work on getting said drop, but it only applies to a very small few. Upgrading gear could honestly be more forgiving, but of course they want players to stay as long as possible. Overall, the many systems and mechanics are not fun to interact with. Now, it is possible to buy gear from other players on regular server, however the majority of the player base is on Reboot, which doesn't allow trading. While buying basic gear or clean gear is very achievable, buying upgraded gear was another story. While you can simply well out, I feel this would make progression feel pretty bad. This brings me to my next point, regular servers versus Reboot server. If it wasn't for Reboot server, I would have quit very early on. Reboot server bosses will drop 5 times as much money than regular servers. This alone helps me out greatly. Not to mention the fact that you can also buy cubes in Reboot, a major upgrading item that would otherwise cost real money in regular servers. While you can get free cubes from bosses and events, it would take more time and effort than playing Reboot in my opinion. There's also a great deal of quality of life in Reboot as well, while also being the less pay to win of the two. Of course, with enough time and effort, it is possible to progress in regular server, but even then I felt Reboot progression was in a better place. It's also quite nice to have the freedom to not spend event points on cubes. The last major point would be the grind. While I can see many players disliking the grindy nature, I think it is getting easier with dailies and events. The slow but steady progression is honestly not too bad either. Grinding can sometimes be quite relaxing. There is a lot to grind though, no matter what server you play on. I found myself mostly doing dailies and weeklies though. Those were hopefully all the major points. Now it's just all the smaller things. Cash up items are not permanent and can only be shared between certain classes. It is common to crash while trying to get into the cash shop menu. Cash shop is not able to handle many users at once. The reward points have a limit on how many you can get in a month, crashing will lose buff, and relogging can be annoying. Regular servers have more gear upgrading systems. Upgrading gear was pretty fun at the basic level, but the endgame stage does feel awful. Dailies and weeklies are a thing, and while certain dailies get shorter as you level up, it also introduces more. Dailies can sometimes be annoying, as it's common courtesy to not kill monsters in a map with someone in it. There are limited maps with a monster, and only so many channels. Certain monsters can drop familiar cards, which makes the situation even worse in higher level areas. Some boss gimmicks are annoying to deal with, you can't skip cutscenes, and some quests will have a lot of text that can't be skipped. Things that can be skipped in one world cannot be skipped in another. So playing on another world means having to watch everything again. There is legacy items, and the game is solo focused, with very limited amount of party play. Updates and maintenance will always take longer than expected, making it possible to miss dailies or simply not play. The auction house feels bad to use, though it still beats the old method. Eventually, you will level up many different characters for Legion, which means more power. This can be refreshing, but the leveling route does feel limited. Events are not always enjoyable, though players might still interact with it for the fear of missing out on legacy items. Lastly, Maplestory will ask you if you want to spend cash to do an extra run. Alright, some positives. The game has been through some major change, such as allowing players to sell up to 180 boss crystals. This makes progression easier for both servers, as it used to be a small 60. Transferring items is no longer a hassle, music is great, art is charming, and there are over 40 different classes. Reboot saved the game for me, and events can be powerful, and even sometimes fun. I found each class to be unique, and while some I would likely never play again, it was refreshing to at least try them. The Reddit community has good guides, and the game can be forgiving at times. Overall, the game is a niche, grindy 2D side-scroller RPG that is very luck-based. The game is pay to win if you're on regular servers, though again you can progress with enough effort and time. If you do choose to play this even with all the negatives, you should remember the game has dailies and weeklies that can take up to 1 to 2 hours a day. Do content you enjoy, do not worry about missing legacy items or feeling pressured to play. Reboot is the less pay to win of the two servers and the company is not great. That's everything. I'm happy that the video is done. Goodbye and good night.